Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Carlie. I am a knitter and yarn dyer coming to you from southern Alberta. I'm really excited to be here filming today because it has been a little over 3 months since my last episode and I have a lot of knitting to talk about. I'm going to share only finished objects today because if I were to share the whips as well, it'll just be too long of an episode. So I'm super excited to get comfortable, get settled in here and discuss all of these new pieces with you. We will start with what I'm wearing, but before we get into the details, I'd like to take a moment to talk about the partner of today's video. I have partnered with Foreo Sweden and have been using the Foreo UFO3 for the last couple of months. During this busy season of gift knitting, I love taking a little time for myself, and that is where the UFO3 comes in. It's a deep facial hydration device that makes treating your skin feel like a spa experience right at home. Before I start, I always make sure my skin is clean and makeup free. That way the mask's active ingredients can absorb fully for the best results. The UFO3 comes with uniquely designed activated masks, and each mask has a pre-programmed treatment in the Foreo app. Or you can customize your own routine. I loved experimenting with different masks depending on how my skin felt that day. It combines warming thermotherapy to help ingredients penetrate deeply, cooling cryotherapy to depuff and firm, refining LED therapy for revitalizing the complexion, and T-sonic massage to relax facial tension and boost circulation. After just 2 minutes, my skin feels hydrated, smooth, and glowing, a perfect way to wind down after a creative day. I've noticed my skin looks plumper and more radiant after using the UFO3 regularly. It's clinically proven to increase skin moisture by 126% in just 2 minutes and to reduce the appearance of wrinkles in just a week, more effective than a sheet mask alone. And right now, Foreo is offering some amazing Black Friday deals. Click the link below and use my code CARLIE35 to get an extra 35% off, even on products already on sale. That means you can save up to 50% on your favorite Foreo devices, including the UFO3. Thank you Foreo Sweden for partnering with me on this video. So I am wearing the Traveler's Cardigan by Ozetta, and this is a piece that has not been featured here on the podcast. And this is also a piece that I've been wanting to knit for quite some time now. I have knit her field day cardigan. I really enjoyed the process of that, and I enjoyed the fit of it, specifically because a lot of Ozetta's cardigan patterns, she makes you knit the button band as you go, which is something I absolutely love for the process. And so I wanted to try out this Traveler's Cardigan. So I knit this in my own hand-dyed yarn. This is a 2-ply worsted weight yarn, and I dyed this with marigolds that I grew last summer. And this was over dyed a natural gray base yarn. So it is more on the rustic side for sure, but I'm actually not wearing anything underneath it and it's not bothering me at all. I have washed this multiple times just to soften it up a lot because when I did receive the yarn, there's definitely a lot of hay and vegetable matter, it seemed like, still in there, and a lot of lanolin. It was extremely sheepy and it kind of had a film over it. It smelled like a farm. Yeah, there's lots of hay bits in there, so it was definitely quite scratchy and itchy when I first got it. After some washing, it really softened up, but however, it is still considered a bit rustic, I would say. But I just love this cardigan. It's such a pretty color, I think, and I also paired it with some antler buttons that my mom made for me. So as you can see, got 4 antler buttons, and I'm also wearing antler earrings today that she made. So it just goes really nice, and I think it's a nice earthy touch for this piece that was naturally dyed as well. So I think I did everything exactly to pattern. Actually, no, that's not right. I did shorten it by like a whole length, if that makes sense. So I was actually supposed to have a whole other section down here where the 5th buttonhole would be. I didn't want it to be that long, and you do make the button band as you go. So if you follow it to pattern, you're making the buttonholes as you make the cardigan. With the field day jacket, I did afterthought buttonholes because I wasn't sure what length I would want. So that was a really nice way to just get the button band done and figure out where I want the length afterwards and not have to commit by doing the button bands or the buttonholes as I go. This time I knew I wanted it kind of cropped and kind of cinched in at the waist, sort of like bomber jacket style. So I knew where the 4th buttonhole was going to land on me, and I just called it a day there and continued with the ribbing instead of stockinette for the bottom. And this is top down, and like I said before, you knit this button band as you go, and then afterwards you go and pick up the stitches for the collar here, if I remember correctly. All of these pieces, like I said, it's been about 3 months since I last recorded. I've been working on all of these, and I'm trying to remember all the details, but sometimes I think I'm getting some of the details mixed up with the other patterns. But anyways, all the patterns will be linked down below, and more information will be there, and you can also click on the actual pattern page itself to see the designer's notes. But I did use 6mm needles for this one, so it was a really nice quick project. It really did feel like it flew off my needles. I was trying to get it done specifically for a yarn event or a fiber event that I was vending at, so I could wear it there, and I met the deadline, which was great. I was able to wear it, and yeah, I haven't worn it too much since then, just because I've been like working and doing other things and not really wearing my knits as much. But I'm excited now that the weather is getting cooler. I'm hopefully going to get a lot more wear out of this, but I am very happy with it. This was my second Ozetta pattern. Out of the 2 that I've knit from her, I really like the way she organizes her patterns, and I'm never confused at all at any time that I've knit the Traveler and the Field Day cardigan. So I do see myself knitting more of her patterns in the future. I really like her cardigans and jackets. I think they're really nice and well written. My next piece is one that actually has been featured on the last podcast. I believe I would have spoken about it a little bit. And this is the Lacy Loop Tee by Other Loops. So this was a super popular pattern over the summertime. As soon as it was released, I think everybody was really excited to get it on their needles and to cast it on. And I was definitely one of those. I ended up using yarn from my stash. Actually, it was yarn from my Nana's stash. So this is some pretty old yarn. It's unfortunately discontinued, but I'll have the yarn information. It's written down on my project page, which is linked down below as well. So you might be able to find it through someone else's stash on Ravelry if you really fall in love with this. But this is Penguin Fluoride. So Penguin is out of business, and yeah, that's a shame because I really love this yarn. But anyways, let me show you what I did here. This is my Lacy Loop Tee. As you can see, it looks a little different than the designer's. I did do some modifications that I will get into. I really love the modifications I did. I do like the original, but there were some things that just weren't fully my style, or I knew wouldn't look too great with the current pieces that I have in my wardrobe. So I did some really simple modifications that I think made a huge impact on this piece. So this is a top-down drop shoulder, all over textured pattern. And I chose this yarn from my stash specifically for the Lacy Loop because, as you can see, there's lots of texture on this yarn, and I just thought it would be a really cool pairing to have textured yarn and textured fabric. So I also didn't really know what this yarn was going to look like knit up, but it worked out really perfectly, I think, because all of these little slubs of, I think they're silk, turned out to be little loops. So it's very fitting for the Lacy Loop Tee. And yeah, so it's supposed to be just an oversized boxy fit of a drop shoulder tee. I do really like oversized drop shoulders on myself, but I didn't really want the waist to be like so boxy and loose and not have much shape to it. And I also didn't want to have ribbing in this yarn just because I could have swatched, but I had a feeling that I wasn't going to look like the way that ribbing looked in this yarn that has so much texture. I just kind of was picturing it and it was looking really messy in my head. So I just went with my gut on that and I said no ribbing on this one. And I just followed the lace pattern all the way throughout and did regular bind offs for the bottom, and there's no cuff or anything like that. And then for the neckline, which you go and pick up afterwards, I also omitted the ribbing and I just did, oh, I'm showing you the back, I just did a plain stockinette rolled hem for the neckline, and I really like how it looks. I think it's perfect for it. It doesn't distract from everything else, and I just think ribbing would have been too messy. And then the edge, I just finished everything so that it was on the garter part. I also lengthened the sleeves, which is obviously a very easy modification for any pattern, but I originally ended it here and tried it on after blocking, thinking that blocking was going to really lengthen the sleeves. It did not at all. It almost shrunk them, I think. So I had technically finished this, I bound off and everything, and I just was not happy with the length of the sleeves. I thought I could have gone for just like an inch longer even, so I just did one more repeat, took out the bind off, put them back on the needles and added one more repeat, and that turned out to be perfectly. It comes about 3/4 lengths sleeves for me, which is a sleeve length that I really enjoy, and there's no decreases or anything, so it kind of appears as though there's a bell sleeve, but there's also no increases, so it's just a straight sleeve that kind of forms a bell at the end. My favorite type of sleeve. And then I think the biggest modification that makes the most of an impact on this piece would definitely be the elastic that I added at the very bottom. So here's the bottom. You can see it's kind of cinched in there. And again, I ended the bottom just on the garter section, just after I finished the garter section. And I bound off and I tried it on, and it was just kind of like tent-like on me. And I don't love it when a piece will kind of fan out like that, especially when I turn sideways and the back is going like that and the front. I really don't like that, and that's what this was doing. And I find a lot of pieces that are oversized tend to take on that shape, and if there's no shaping for the body, which this pattern doesn't have, I almost feel like going forward for pieces like that or designs like that, I might have to introduce some decreases into the body just so it comes in a little bit. But for this one, what I ended up doing is I just took some elastic. I'm trying to see if I have it here. I don't think it's handy, but it's just a really thin piece of elastic that you can thread with a needle. And I just weaved it in and out. You can kind of see here. If I stretch it, you can see the elastic through there. I went through the back like pearl bumps basically, and how do I show this? I think it was through 2 rows of pearl bumps. Maybe it's just one, I can't really remember. It looks like just one, but I swear I went through 2 rows. And I just threaded it through the entire bottom of the top. And what I did beforehand is I just measured out the elastic around my waist to a comfortable circumference. So it wasn't digging into my waist too much, but it was also cinching in enough for there to be like some nice shape to it. And then I cut it off, and that's what I did. Then I knew exactly how much I needed to thread the bottom. As you can see, like this is what it was normally, and then it comes in like that. And it's really nice, especially when I'm wearing it with a high-waisted skirt or high-waisted pants, which is 90% of the time. I don't have to worry about tucking it in and having extra fabric or untucking. It literally just sits and like billows over the elastic, and it looks as though I've tucked it in. And I love it. I think this is something that I may do going forward with other pieces. This is definitely more of a summery piece in my mind because there's lots of lace work and it's a really drapey fabric. It is a DK weight yarn. And there is some weight to it. It actually feels like quite a heavy garment, but it's mostly silk content. And I don't know, it just feels very summery to me. But it's funny because as I was knitting this, my boyfriend was saying that it looked very Christmassy to him. And I was like, what are you talking about? No, that's the exact opposite vibe that I'm going for. But once I finished it, and maybe he was just saying this to make me happy, but he said it was definitely a summery summer sweater, which is again what I was going for, kind of like a late summer or a summer evening top to wear. That said, I've still been wearing it in the fall, and I'll definitely be wearing it throughout the entire year. But I do just love wearing it with this high-waisted skirt that I have. I think it's really pretty, but for winter and fall, I can wear it with my high-waisted pants, and I think it's really cute as well. So yeah, that's my Lacy loop tee. I'm really happy with it. It wasn't, I don't think I enjoyed the process that much, partly because I think I was just getting a little bored. I don't know, nothing at all wrong with the pattern, and the finished piece I absolutely love, but the actual texture itself, I didn't love the process of it. It was definitely more of a product knit for me, and it was also the combination of the texture that I didn't really enjoy knitting and the type of yarn, because as you can imagine, with yarn that's like this, with so much texture and thin and thick parts and whole slubs of this, what do you call that, silk, it was just a little bit difficult. Not a little, it was actually kind of a lot difficult to work a lot of the lace work in this. Things just weren't, I couldn't grab them with my needles, and the yarn was splitting. So a whole lot of that, and yeah, it just made it for not the most comfortable or enjoyable knit. But I'm really glad I pushed through, because I've worn it so much since finishing, and it's probably already one of my most worn pieces, even though it's somewhat new. And yeah, I think it's just also really unique and cool looking, and it's nice and neutral. It goes with a lot of things in my wardrobe and a lot of jewelry as well. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. And I'd also love to know if you made the Lacy loop tee, because I know it was quite popular, and I'd love to know what you thought about the process of it. My next finished piece is a really exciting one. This too has not been shown on the podcast, and I'm not even sure if I mentioned that I was planning on making this one. So this is also a pretty popular pattern lately, and one that has, I think, some criticism or some conversation about why it's been so hyped up. But anyways, this is the King Salmon by Caitlin Hunter, and here is my version. I love this sweater so much. I think it's so cute, and it was absolutely like so much fun to make. So before we get into the process, what I liked about it, the fit and all of that, I'll just start with the yarn. This is Estelle Yarn Silk Harmony. The light gray is silver, and then the fish is charcoal. It's a blend of silk, cotton, and wool, and it is just a really soft, nice fabric and a really nice yarn to work with. I believe it was my first time working with this yarn. I've had this in stash for a while. I actually had this yarn to make the bouquet sweater by Junko Okamoto, I think is her name. And I have had that in stash for like 2 years to make that sweater, and I bought the pattern like 2 years ago as well. And every time I open up that pattern and I read through it, I am beyond confused. Not even just with like the colorwork technique, which I've watched videos on, and I know that I'll be able to handle it if I put my mind towards it. But it was literally just the cast on, and I was looking at the numbers and nothing made sense to me. But so many, like hundreds of people have made this sweater, so there's obviously not an issue, but it does not, my brain can't comprehend it. It's a sweater I want so badly, but maybe in a couple years my brain will understand it and I can knit it then. But I didn't want this yarn sitting in my stash for that long, so I decided to use it for this piece, and I'm really happy that I did. So I did make the smallest size, and this is a top-down circular yoke, and I believe a lot of the criticism or just discussion about this sweater comes with the fact that it's a very deep yoke, and so your armpit, or my armpit, really sits like up here probably, and so there's a lot of extra space down there. The designer does say that it's designed specifically like that because it's supposed to be a big oversized sweater. Mine isn't too oversized on me, but I actually don't mind the deep yoke at all. It doesn't bother me. I think it looks quite nice actually when I'm standing and my arms are down. I think the deep yoke looks really good. My only issue with the fit of this is that the neckline here. Now there is short row shaping in this, and it raises the back just slightly, as you can see here. But I almost feel like it's still too high up on my neck. Now I don't know if it's something that bothers me enough to go back and fix at this point, but going forward I am going to make a second one of these for my sister because she saw this and fell in love with it. So I have learned a couple of things from making this one, and the main modification I think I'm going to do for my sisters, and one that I wish I did for myself, is I'm just going to omit the ribbing. Without the ribbing, I would feel less of it riding up on my neck, and I think I'm just going to do an applied I-cord afterwards around the neckline just to make it look a little bit more finished so there's not a raw edge there. And I just think there's too much fabric up here. Like this, it looks completely fine. Before I blocked it, the neck, I really had to stretch out the shoulders because it was literally like this. The neck hole up here, and then the shoulders were like this. So if I tried it on before blocking, it was seriously like coming up here, the neck, because it just wouldn't sit on my shoulders. So I really stretched out the shoulders, and I was nervous. I was thinking, oh, I don't know if this is going to block out. This might be the weirdest fit on me of all time. Thankfully, it did block out, and like I said, I really stretched that out just so there was more space for shoulders, because it was almost as if it looked as if like it was made for a body where your neck's here and then your shoulders just slope down like that. So obviously that was going to cause some weird bunching and bubbling around the chest area. So thankfully blocking helped all of that, and I'm so happy it did. That would have been really annoying. But I do notice as I wear it that it still rides up and I'm pulling it down quite a bit. So I don't know, I haven't done this before, but the thing is you start with the neckline. You don't add it afterwards. So if it did really start to bother me, I guess I could go in and pick up stitches just below where the ribbing ends and rip out the ribbing and then just do like an I-cord around there. But I don't know, has anyone ever done that before? Can you please let me know if you've done that type of sweater surgery on a piece where the neckband is worked along with the rest of the sweater and not something you pick up afterwards? Because it might actually start annoying me the more I wear it. I have worn this quite a bit, and I think it was just the hype of having this new sweater, this beautiful piece done. I was excited and I was like, whatever, the neckline won't bother me. But there is a chance that it could bother me going forward. And so if that does happen, I just kind of want to know if any of you have done that before, because that might be an option. But I would like to wear it a bit more because it might end up just being fine, and maybe just the way the yarn stretches out over time with wear, maybe it'll settle in a little bit more. Anyways, those are my only issues with this. Other than that, great sweater. I love it. My main reason for knitting this sweater was actually because my boyfriend and I were going to visit his parents in St. John's area in Newfoundland. And I thought I needed a new sweater, and there's a lot of salmon fishing out there and a lot of salmon out there. So I just thought this was the perfect sweater for it. And it was. I wore it a bunch out there. I got a lot of compliments. We were even out eating and some lady stopped me and had to tell me she loved my sweater. So of course that made my day. But it was also, it just went by so fast, this knit, because I really love working color work. It's so satisfying to me, especially when you start to see the motif come to life, and especially with this, like the salmon, it was so exciting to see the shape coming and like, oh, there's the salmon head and then there's a fin and all of that. And I really couldn't put it down. And the plus of this, the yoke is so deep, so you have a lot of engaging knitting for a majority of the sweater. So once you're done the yoke, which is so engaging, you don't really have that much more left to do for the body. And this isn't cropped. This is like a full-length sweater on me. And it just, yeah, flew by. And then same with the sleeves. They're already, you know, a good chunk way down your arm because of the deep yoke. So there's not much sleeve to do. I think I was able to do a sleeve maybe in a day because it was pretty short, or like 98% of a sleeve in a day, and then like this much the next day, I think is what I did. So it was a really just satisfying quick knit, and I am very excited to make the second one, especially now that I have more experience with this sweater and more knowledge with this sweater. I think it'll turn out even better, like fit wise. So yeah, and one thing though, you can probably see up here, these spots there, I was catching my floats at the beginning because there's quite a bit of space, and unfortunately you can very much see that because it's such a contrast of yarn colors. But you know, I'm fine with it. I'm not going back and fixing that, and my thought is it's consistent around the entire yoke. It's not just one spot that would bother me. As long as it's all the way throughout, then I'm okay with it. I think for the most part, I may have caught floats later on in areas that were quite long, but I tried to avoid catching floats for that reason, just because it was really peeking through with that dark yarn. And I think it looks really, really good. I am usually one for low contrast, but I think high contrast is a really nice look for this type of design, especially like it's just an outline of the fish too, so I think you really want them to stand out. I really love the tree element in here as well. I think that's a really nice touch. This was also my first Caitlin Hunter pattern, and again, I always hear weird things about the fit of her sweaters, and they're always like kind of weird. And yeah, I mean, I definitely experienced that with the neckline, but I enjoyed the pattern a lot. And like I said, I am going to be making a second one. So I'm really excited to cast that one on. I'm not sure when I'll be able to cast that one on. I do have a couple of projects here and there that kind of I have deadlines for. They aren't super important deadlines, but ones that I would like to follow and kind of get majority of them done before I cast on my second king salmon. So yeah. Have any of you made the king salmon or what she has the other one? Is it the trout? She has the king salmon light. This is a worsted version. She has the fingering weight version as well. And then I believe there's the trout sweater as well. Have any of you made those ones? I'd love to know. And if you enjoyed the colorwork chart as much as I did. I have one final sweater to talk about, but this isn't the last finished object. So this is just the last big finished object. This is the one that I finished the most recently, I believe. And this is the cloud sweater by Petite Knit. So this is my second time knitting the cloud sweater. I knit my first one, I think, earlier in the year, last winter, and I was playing Yarn Chicken and I ran out of yarn, so mine is a cropped 3/4 length sleeve version, but it's still really pretty and I still really love it. It was just a really simple pattern to make, one that went by very quickly. So I already had the pattern in my library, so I thought I would make another one. And this is a gift for my mom. She helped me a lot this summer with all of my dye plants that I had in our hoop house, and I wanted to knit her a sweater as a thank you. And I wanted to knit her a sweater that was dyed with the plants that she helped me grow. So I just thought that was very fitting. So this is also in my 2-ply worsted yarn, the same yarn as this. And I dyed this with the Coreopsis plants that we grew this year, and we had, like, the hoop house is quite big and long. I don't remember the dimensions of it, but it was, the Coreopsis took about half of the hoop house along one side edge. And Coreopsis, if you're not familiar, they're very tiny, dainty flowers. And so we had just a crazy amount, and you would pick spend a couple hours every few days picking these flowers, and then it took forever. Not even a couple hours, more than a couple hours, and we'd have 3 people on there sometimes on this hedge of Coreopsis, and we'd have a whole bucket, and we'd have to dry them all because I'm saving them to dye with throughout the entire year. And it was just a lot of work and preparation, and my mom helped me a lot with that, and my boyfriend did as well. But so to show my appreciation, I wanted to dye up a bunch of yarn using the Coreopsis and knit her a sweater. So look how pretty it is. This is it. It's a really autumnal, cozy, oversized sweater. And this, I had different dye lots of this one, and I didn't really realize that I chose different lots when I was skeins these up, or like winding them up into balls. And then every time I was changing to a new ball when knitting, it seemed that it was happening when it was dark out. So I was choosing, and I couldn't really see like the color of the skeins of yarn that well. And anyways, you might be able to notice it almost kind of looks like a fade. It's darker up here and goes lighter to the bottom. But I think it turned out really nice. And again, it's naturally dyed. It's a natural looking sweater. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect because, it's not like that in nature. So I think it looks really cool, and I think my mom's gonna love it. She's seen it while it's been in progress. Like, I've been around her while knitting on it, but she hasn't seen the finished piece yet, so I'm very excited. This is a top-down, drop shoulder, oversized piece, all stockinette, super easy. There are some short rows here and there to shape the shoulders and the back neck, and the main feature is just some really simple. It's hard to see with this variegated yarn, but as you can see, the shoulders got a seam there, and those are just purl rows. And then you do the same for the seam here for the sleeve. And then it also has some ribbing, and then followed by a rolled edge for the cuffs and the hem of the sweater. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this sweater. It's quite popular. It's often on the hot right now on Ravelry. And it's a really good basic top-down drop shoulder sweater. So it's nice to have in the pattern library. I think it's also one that could be very easily modifiable. I'm toying with the idea of making another one in the future, not anytime soon, but one that has color work along the bottom here of a chart that I make myself. I kind of have a vision in mind and a theme, and I think it would be really fun to have like this part color work, and I might play around with that in the future. But I have so many plans and ideas in my head, like all knitters do, and who knows when I'll be able to get to that. But I just thought this would be a really good piece for my mom. It's oversized, cozy, large. I figured she could get a lot of wear out of this, and I'm very excited to give it to her. And now that it's been featured here on the podcast, I will be wrapping this up and gifting it to her as soon as I possibly can, because I can't wait. And I'm hoping it's soft enough for her. I don't think she's extremely sensitive, but like I said, with more wear and more washing, this does soften up, so I'm hoping it's okay for her. But even if it's not, she can wear a long sleeve underneath, and this can even just be, something that she wears when she's outside putting around, or, working on the garden when it's still cool outside. I told her she doesn't have to be precious with this. It's a sturdy yarn. She can wear it a lot, and she, she doesn't have to save it for special occasions. So I think this will be a really nice piece for her. It's also, this color is a color that looks really good on her. And I just think it's so fitting that it's all dyed with Coreopsis, and that's where she spent a lot of her time this summer with us and without us, tending to our Coreopsis and helping me pick it and all of that. So yeah, I'm very happy that I'll be able to gift this to her. And yeah, I'll keep you posted on what she thinks and the fit. I'm just so excited that it's done and ready to gift. So I have one more finished object. It's a little bit different than the other pieces. We went through all of the garments, and this is now a little toy. So the last episode, which was again around 3 months ago, I was currently in a phase of crocheting amigurumi, and I was really obsessed with making these little amigurumi toys. I had only made 2 full ones at the time, and I had this one in progress. So I have an idea or a plan to crochet up a bunch of little toys and crochet a basket, which is in progress, but I'll share that another time. And this basket that's crocheted with all my scraps will hold all of these little amigurumi toys or knitted toys. I don't really love doing knitted toys. I prefer the crocheting for these little tiny objects rather than knitting. But I wanted to have a basket full of handmade toys for my niece and nephew when they come over to visit. And they have seen some of them, and including the one I'm about to show you. My niece saw it and she just went, wow, I love this duck. So they're a hit. So I'm very excited about that. But this is the new Duckling by Garland. And oh my God, this is the little duckling I made. And it's got a little tail, it's got these little wings, and it's got cute little like cheeks and little safety eyes there. It's got its beak, cute little feet. It is just really precious and adorable, and I really look at it. It's got such a realistic shape. But as I was crocheting this, I was kind of like, this seems really weird. I don't know. And like, I saw the finished object photos and it did look good and normal, but as I was crocheting it, I was just like, my proportions seem a bit weird. But I think it worked out. This pattern also comes with a little dress or shirt. I haven't made that yet. I would like to eventually. But yeah, this is just the sweetest little thing. And I used a 3.5mm crochet hook, and I used some of my hand-dyed yarn, the BFL sock base. This one is Knit in Public Day, which was a one-time colorway for Knit in Public Day. And then this was just some stuff that I was experimenting with, and they were scraps from a while back. But yeah, I love this duck and highly recommend. Garland is like the queen of realistic animal patterns for mostly knitting. She does have the odd crochet here and there, and I hope she has more coming out because, like I said, I much prefer to crochet these little toys rather than knitting. Knitting is just, the small circumference and the double pointed needles, it just becomes way too finicky for me, and I much prefer just working with one crochet hook. It just seems a lot easier to manage. And yeah, I'm excited to get back into these soon. I just kind of had to put the toys on a bit of a delay for now, as I was trying to get through a few of these garments for trips and markets and gifts and all of that. So hopefully I'll be getting back into this, but yeah, I don't know. If you need to get some Christmas toys or Christmas presents made up for some kids, maybe check out Garland's new Duckling or any of her patterns really, because they are just amazing pieces. So I'm so happy with this, and I have, actually, let me grab them really quickly. So I have all of the toys here that I've made, and I've shown them here before, but I'll show you them all together now. So this is the gang. We've got the duck and the cute little frog that's also pretty realistic looking, and then this little mushroom. And I mean, the mushroom's not really like a character for them to play with, but it's a nice little like backdrop piece, you know. And then this one here is one I just wanted I needed to give my hands a break from knitting one night, or I needed a break from knitting for whatever reason. And I took some of this yarn and I just felted it and made it into a cute little frog. So it's kind of cute. It like usually sits here with the duck. And it took like half an hour to make, you know, it was really quick. And I just kind of wung it and we've got a little frog. It's kind of dumb, but it's also pretty cute. So we've got all of these so far that will be going into the toy basket. And I cannot wait for my niece and nephew to come and play with these toys. I also, with this one, they've got beans at the bottom, just so it can actually stand up on its own like that. And all of these toys I've made with the BFL sock base. I have a lot of leftovers from sample knitting and I didn't really know what to do with them, and crochet is a great way to use up scraps as it eats up more yarn quickly. So I just thought I'd reserve all of those scraps for all of these toys, and it's nice, they're all naturally dyed, so they just have a really nice cohesive natural look to them, which I think just works really well with the handmade look of them as well. So those are all the finished objects from the last 3 months. I do have some socks, but they're like half finished socks. I've got one sock done out of the pair, and I will share those things with you in the next episode. So my plan is in the next episode, I'll talk about all of my current whips that I have on my needles and different plans that I have going forward and different things like that. I didn't want to include it in this video today just because I think it would go on a little bit too long and I'll spread out the content a little bit. But before we say goodbye today, I do want to talk about one more thing, and it is technically a whip, but I wanted to mention it because it is a knit along that I'm a part of, and the knit along officially starts on November 15th. So I wanted to take the moment to talk about that. And this is the Cozy Colorwork Christmas Stocking by Ashley Osorio. She kindly gifted me this pattern and asked me if I wanted to be a part of the knit along. And I've actually been really wanting to knit a Christmas stocking, so I thought this was the perfect opportunity to do that. There is actually a live cast on party on November 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. There's a Discord server also if you want to join that and start chatting with everybody and see progress on everyone's projects. That Discord server is linked down below, and that Discord is actually through Kimber's Cozy Creations, and she's the one that came up with the color palette for this project and did a lot of the kits as well. So really, really pretty design. There's actually 2 different stockings in this pattern, so 2 different colorwork motifs on each stocking, and there's just a lot of room to play with color on this. I've started mine and I'll show you it in a second. I'm doing a scrappy version. I think I'm doing stocking number 2 and modifying a little bit because since I'm doing a scrappy version, I don't have all of the correct colors to do some of the motifs. So there's lots of room for just using scraps and doing some modifications with the color work if you don't have all the right colors. And there's also a hashtag for this. It's hashtag Cozy Stocking Cal, so you can join that on Instagram and use your hashtag if you want to join along. And I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be really fun. I'll show you what I have so far. It's a really enjoyable pattern, and if you're at all interested, definitely check out the Discord server below and the hashtag, and maybe you'll get a chance to join that cast on party. That might be tonight by the time at time of publishing. So yeah, anyways, here's mine. Like I said, I think I'm doing stocking number 2. And I'm using all scraps, so I don't have a whole lot of Christmas colors, but I had some red and green and some gold and some pink, and I thought, okay, that'll work. That'll make it Christmassy enough. So I've got a lot of ends to weave in, as you can see, but really, really cute. It's just perfect. Like this green yarn is leftover socks that I made, and the yarn was from Copenhagen from when my boyfriend went there. This red yarn is from the first hat that I ever knit for years and years, not years and years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And this dark green is from leftovers from my nephew's baby hat that I knit him. Yeah, I've got lots of memorable yarn. This gold here is from LA, when my boyfriend went to LA and brought me that back. And yeah, like I said, they're all leftovers, they're all scraps. It feels really good to get some of these scraps used up, and it's just turning out really pretty. I love this bow motif. I love this part too, and soon I'm going to be doing Christmas trees, and then I'm going to repeat this part, and then I start the heel. And in the pattern after this, or maybe right after this, actually, there's supposed to be gingerbread men, and really cute, but I just didn't have enough of the right colors to actually knit some gingerbread men on there, so I'm just omitting that, and I went straight into this motif and this motif. And to make up for the length, I'm going to do the trees and then repeat this part down there and then do the heel, and then it'll be roughly around the same length as if it would have been had I kept the gingerbread motif. But anyways, it's a really fun knit along. Definitely check out the pattern link down below, and the Discord server and the hashtag if you want to join. It's really chill, fun knit along, and it's a great pattern. And then you could also, if you start on the 15th, you could have this done by the time Christmas comes around, or maybe even by the time you decorate your house, and you can hang this up your fireplace. So yeah, thank you so much, Ashley, for gifting me this pattern, and I hope some of you join. It's been really fun, and I really love doing scrappy projects, especially ones like with Colorwork, and there's just so much room for creativity, and it's also so satisfying to just use up those scraps. I actually have another scrappy project that I'm really excited to talk about next episode, and it's actually the basket that I'm crocheting for the toys. I'm using up so many scraps and getting so many like little odds and ends out of my stash, and it feels insanely good. So yeah, we still have lots to talk about next episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It felt really good to get back into it. My schedule just changed drastically over the last couple of months, and I was finding it really hard to find time to sit down and record and even have the energy to do so while I was adjusting to this new schedule. So I'm glad that it finally worked out today. So I will be back shortly with another episode, and if you enjoyed this episode today, please consider liking, subscribing, or commenting. It means the world to me, and it's a really great way to show your support. Thank you again so much. Happy knitting, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!